All right, today we're diving into one of the weirdest and, frankly, most dangerous lakes on the entire planet. It's a place that looks completely serene, beautiful even, but it's hiding a secret that's genuinely catastrophic, and we're going to pull back the curtain on it.
So let's just start with a crazy question. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a disaster movie, right? But can an ordinary lake actually kill millions of people? Maybe all in a single day? Well, the terrifying answer is yeah, it can.
To understand how any lake could possibly be that deadly, we've got to uncover its secret. There's this rare, really violent phenomenon that's just lurking right under the surface. It's called a limnic eruption. Okay, the best way to think about it is like a giant can of soda. As long as that cap is on, all the CO2, all the fizz stays dissolved in the liquid. But you shake it up, you pop the top, and whoosh, it erupts everywhere. Well, this lake is like a massive, naturally carbonated can, and the pressure is building big time.
And this isn't just some theory, this is a real place. It's Lake Kivu, right in one of Africa's great rift valleys. For hundreds of years, you've got volcanic activity and stuff decaying on the lake floor, and it's all been pumping just enormous amounts of methane and carbon dioxide into the deep water, and now it's getting dangerously close to the breaking point. So, now that we know what the danger is, let's really wrap our heads around the scale of this thing. We're not just talking about a small problem. We are talking about a ticking time bomb of truly epic proportions. To really get the risk here, we have to look at what's happened before. This is the number of people who died back in 1986 at a place called Lake Nyos in Cameroon. It had one of these limnic eruptions, and it released this silent, totally invisible cloud of CO2 that just rolled down the hillsides. It suffocated people and all their livestock right in their sleep. It was just an absolute nightmare. Okay, now, just let this sink in for a second. Lake Kivu isn't just a little bigger than Lake Nyos. It is 10,000 times larger, and it holds over 1,000 times more dissolved gas. The potential for disaster here it's just almost impossible to imagine. And this is the number that keeps scientists and government officials up at night. Somewhere between 2 and 4 million people live in the basin right around Lake Kivu. It's super densely populated. An eruption would unleash this toxic gas cloud that could just blanket the whole valley. It could literally be the single deadliest natural disaster in all of recorded history. So the obvious question is, when's it going to blow? And that's where it gets really scary, because there are basically two clocks ticking at the same time. The first one is the immediate threat. The area is super volcanically active, so an earthquake or a small eruption nearby could trigger it at any moment, like tomorrow. But the second clock, that one's almost more unnerving. Even if nothing happens, scientists think the lake is only 50 to 70 years away from becoming so full of gas that it could just erupt all by itself.
And as if the human cost wasn't enough, look at the climate impact. A full-on eruption would release something like 5.9 gigatons of greenhouse gases in a single day. To put that into perspective, that is almost as much as the entire United States emits in a whole year. It'd be a climate catastrophe on top of a massive humanitarian one.
It is a truly terrifying scenario. But what if we could actually turn this whole threat into an opportunity? And that brings us to this incredible idea, this potential solution. What if we just tap the danger? The solution is actually pretty elegant, and it's super ambitious. The whole idea is to carefully pump that gas-rich water up from the deep, separate out the valuable methane, and then use that methane to generate electricity. And this does two amazing things at once. First, it safely degasses the lake, which stops the eruption from happening. And second, it creates a huge new source of energy for the whole region. And, of course, there's a huge reason to do this. The methane just sitting at the bottom of that lake is an energy resource that's worth an estimated $60 billion. That kind of value is what could actually make funding a safety project this massive even possible. So, problem solved, right? We're all good? Well, not exactly. As you can probably guess, when you have a $60 billion time bomb on your hands, there's going to be a pretty fierce debate about exactly how to disarm it. And this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of the controversy. You see, the lake has these natural layers of waters with different densities. They act kind of like a cap, keeping the gas trapped way down deep.
So the right way to get the gas out is to preserve those layers. But the wrong way, being sloppy, re-injecting water at the wrong depth, that could actually damage that safety cap. And get this, it could potentially trigger the very eruption you're trying to stop.
And the risk of getting it wrong? It is not theoretical at all. I mean, look at this table from our source material. Past projects and even some current ones have been just riddled with failures. We're talking sinking platforms, broken equipment, and, this is the most critical part, operations that are actively damaging the lake's protective layers. It's a real mess. On top of all those tough engineering challenges, there's a perception problem. So here's a quote from a reviewer. They see the word methane, and they immediately think, oh, it's a fossil fuel project. They start questioning if it's even renewable. But the source material pushes back on this, and pushes back hard. This methane isn't from fossils, it's biogenic. It's created by the natural decay of stuff like algae. The lake is basically the world's largest natural biogas digester. It's renewable natural gas that, one way or another, is going to end up in the atmosphere. But that perception has very real consequences. Here's part of an email from a potential venture capital investor. They actually passed on funding a project designed to solve this exact problem, all because extracting methane didn't fit into their neat little box for what counts as renewable energy. And here, you can just feel the frustration boiling over. The source is basically saying, okay, you think the moral alternative is to just leave the gas alone? Fine. The result is the lake erupts, it kills 2 to 4 million people, and it releases a climate bomb's worth of greenhouse gases. Is that better? This whole situation leads us to a single body of water that has two completely, starkly different futures. One is an absolute nightmare, and the other is a vision of safety and even prosperity. When you step back, you're left with this place of just incredible contradictions. Lake Kivu is a ticking bomb that's threatening millions of people. It's a massive climate threat. But at the exact same time, it is also a potential source of carbon-negative energy, an engine for development, and one of the highest-stakes engineering puzzles on the entire planet. And all that leaves us with this final, really tricky thought. The engineering here is incredibly difficult, and like we've seen, getting it wrong could be just as bad as doing nothing at all. So it really begs the question, when the only solution to a catastrophe is itself a huge risk, how do we make sure we choose the right path forward? It's a question the people around Lake Kivu desperately need us to answer, and they need it answered soon.